Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Blues Feed. It's been a little while since we've had an episode. International break was as boring as ever. England did their best to send us all to sleep on Saturday night, but the Serbia game was a little bit more entertaining. For any of the visual watchers, you'll notice that Danny is not with me today, but we do have our dear friend, Mr. Jay McIntosh, with us. Jay, how's things?
Yeah, good. It's like I've never seen you, Luke. It's like we haven't just been recording for something else. It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
It's been
Yeah,
so long, man.
it's good to be here. Thank you for having me on, mate. I always like it, and I appreciate you guys are on the premium as well. Nice little logo in the top right. Things are looking good here. So
Yeah, we
yeah,
do we do things around here. We do things.
yeah.
So before we jump into this episode, which is going to be a preview of the Brentford game, we are just going to quickly shout out the 1K subscriber giveaway again, and just make sure that everyone's subscribing on YouTube and leaving us comments, likes, and subscribes are most important. And once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away a Chelsea shirt from this season of your choice, and we will get that sent out directly to the winner as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers. Jay, let's crack on into Brentford. Obviously, like you said, we've just been discussing this over on Sire's website, so anyone subscribed to that, please go and check that out as well. Jay, Brentford, what are you thinking? Where do we go with the start of the season so far? 3 games in, and some tricky away fixtures coming up.
Yeah, man. Like I think I don't really know what to expect from Brentford. To be fair, like I kind of thought they would struggle to stay up, but now I've seen some of Wolves play football and West Ham play football. I think it's maybe going to be a little bit safer for Brentford. Burnley obviously have 3 points in the bag, which is the same as Brentford, same as Man City actually, and same as West Ham and a few other teams. Brentford are good at home. They've always been good at home. They beat Villa on the opening day, which I think is, can be seen now with a bit of hindsight as something slightly different to maybe how I would have perceived it initially, which I thought, wow, great win for Brentford, great way to start under the new manager. Obviously, I'd say they had a quiet summer, although they did break their record transfer to bring in Django Ouattara from Bournemouth. Bournemouth, who I rate as a player. I think he's a very good player. I like Kevin Schade. I like Damsgaard too. And Thiago, the striker, I'm still making my mind up. I'm not entirely sure. I actually think Brentford have a fairly decent bench. Like I like Matthias Jensen, I like Aaron Hickey, I actually like Ethan Pinnock, and I really like Fabio Carvalho as well. So I don't think they're like a super weak team. I think Kevin Kelleher coming in's a nice move. Jordan Henderson to me makes no sense. Um, but yeah, like I don't know, man. Brentford are a bit underwhelming, and I think they're probably if they can stay up and don't strengthen next summer, then they're going to be in a real tricky spot. But I'm confident that Chelsea can get the win, mate.
Yeah, I agree. I think like it's always tricky this early in the season to predict what you're going to come up against, unless it's the obvious of a
Yeah,
Liverpool or somebody like that. So I think Brentford notoriously is a tricky place to go, and we haven't got the best record there from memory. I think
no,
we've lost a couple there. We won there last season, or was that the game where we conceded last minute for a draw? I can't remember if that was a year before or not. But it's not the easiest place to go, and they generally tend to turn up against the bigger teams in the league at home. So I'm not overly confident in terms of a drubbing or anything like that, but I do think we should have enough to win the game, and hopefully rest players in the process. I'd like from you, Jay, and I'm going to put you on the spot. You may already know the answer. I'd like to see what you would do if you was in Enzo Maresca's shoes this weekend. What team would you put out with Bayern Munich in mind?
yeah, okay. So I would the goalkeeper's really hard. I think it'd probably just be Sanchez. I don't really think the keeper needs to rotate necessarily as much, but if Jorgensen gets it, then sound doesn't bother me. I think Gusto's likely to play right back, um, and think I think Tosin's definitely going to play. I think Kukureya's going to play. I think Trev will probably play too, so that would be the back four. I hmm. With the midfield, it's tricky because it's very hard to just not start Enzo and Caicedo every time. And if I were a manager, what would I do? I really would like Andre Santos to play this game, to be honest with you. But I think if I were Chelsea manager, I'd probably start with Caicedo and Enzo and look to substitute them off. Maybe give them 60 minutes, 65 minutes, and take them off. Like Brentford, like we said, Brentford's not an easy place to go and play football. The Allianz is also not an easy place to go and play football, but the way that Bayern play is different to the way in which Premier League teams play typically. And this Bayern team is not the best Bayern team we've ever seen. As I said before, the Bundesliga is not, as strong as it once was. And I think that actually Brentford will play a very physical game, will be a very demanding team. So I'd probably want to start Enzo and Caicedo in there and then take them off to give Santos minutes. I don't know whether he'll start Santos. I won't be upset if he does. But if he does, I actually think it's more likely Santos plays instead of Enzo, and Caicedo still starts. But I would probably play Enzo Caicedo, and then I would start Estevao on the right. I would start Garnacho on the left. And then what would I do? I think I'd probably start Joao Pedro up top or as the 10 and then put Mark Guiu up top, or take Joao Pedro off after sort of 65 minutes to bring Guiu on. I don't know, or maybe even Estevao can play in that sort of 10 and put Neto out on the right. It's very tricky, man. That's a tough question. I'm not entirely sure. What do you think? I know I'm not asking the questions this time. What do you think?
I think I'm similar to you. I think what I would do personally is I would start Malagusto because
Yeah,
Reece James started twice during the international
yeah.
break. I would play Tosin and probably Trev. Actually, no, scrap that. I would play Tosin and Josh. Save
Oh,
Trev
yeah,
for when.
yeah. I forgot about Josh. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I'd probably do the same thing.
and then I would start Joao Pedro at left back. Cucurella started twice
Woo!
again for Spain, and I really would want him against Bayern Munich. So I would rest Cucurella and play Joao Hato. I'm a massive Hato fan. I just want him playing.
Yeah.
And then in midfield, Enzo Fernandez had the international break off because he was suspended for Argentina. So he's going to be sort of fit and firing, ready to go. Unfortunately, Dario Asugu is obviously out for
Yeah.
12 weeks. Otherwise, I think I'd have started him and rested Moy for Bayern. But I think I would do similar to you, Enzo and Caicedo to start, and then I'd probably take Caicedo off for Santos with half an hour or so to go. And then I would play Garnacho from the left, also Esteval from the right. I would play João Pedro from the 10 and take him off after 60, and I would start Mark Guiu up front.
I love Mark Guiu, man.
Yeah, me and you are Guiu lover boys, man. We're
Oh, I
we're
know.
big fans.
I
So
know.
yeah, I think that's what I would do. I can see Maresca doing something like João Pedro as the 9 and maybe Andre Santos as the 10.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
slightly reserved 10. I could see that coming about, or I could see what you said, Estevao in the 10 and Neto on the wing, or maybe he'll play Gittens to save Neto for Bayern. I think that's the beauty of the squad now, is you could see us line up in sort of 5, 6, 7 different attacking like formations, really. But I think the defense is actually the interesting part of how he goes. Does he go full rotation mode or not? But with Reece and Cucurella both starting twice for their national teams, some rotation needs to be had there, I think. Um, I wanted to touch on the sort of the Samba feeling coming through the Chelsea squad at the minute. I mean, obviously we've got Estevao and Pedro and Santos, and it takes me back to my youth of supporting Chelsea, where we had a lot of Brazilians with like David Luiz, Ramirez, Alex, those sorts of players. It's lovely to see, Jay, isn't it?
Yeah, it is nice, and I think that as it did with Chelsea teams of the past, it actually echoes further than just Brazilians. I think um, there's a sort of Latin flex throughout this team that I think adds a really lovely dynamic to this squad. Um, that's not just the Brazilian boys. We've obviously got Enzo, who I think has been the best midfielder alongside Caicedo in the league since the start of the season, pretty much. His numbers are absolutely outrageous. I even think that sort of bleeds over into players like Pedro Neto too, that whilst not maybe a direct Samba feeling player, he's just has that sort of just has that kind of Neto could so easily be an Argentina player or a Brazil player, and even the sort of further in that South American thing with Caicedo too. I think that's something that's really valuable there. Yeah, I really like the feel that what Chelsea do. I will say though, Luke, to sort of be a little bit dour, the Samba element that we grew up with, you and I being the same age, is not now complemented by the African presence in the team. No, is it no African players in the Chelsea team? Is that right? I don't want to get that wrong.
I think you might be spot on.
Or no players that represent African countries is probably more
Yeah.
broadly correct. Which I think is a minor shame because Chelsea and African footballers is like cheese on toast, really. So that's a bit of a shame. But I do love the Samba feeling. I like the fluidity. I like the flex. I like the confidence. And it's. I know we actually have a few people that are Brazilian that listen to the show over on Size Channel, but the South American players are not just techie; they're feisty too, man. They're real winners and battlers on the pitch. Even like Joao Pedro winning headers from corners, those kind of things. I really like what's going on at Chelsea. I really like the feel. I think things look good. It's nice as well to see, even again extending the Samba, which relates to Brazil, but like that South American, even players like Anselmino, who we discussed doing well on loan already, is really impressive. I know Diego Moreira at Strasbourg, who was a Chelsea player, is a Chelsea player, could be a Chelsea player, who knows. He's having a nice time, obviously. And Enciso has gone there. Buonanote's come in, another Argentinian too. So yeah, I really like the feel. I really like Chelsea's squad building. I think it's been almost overwhelmingly positive, apart from a one or two areas potentially. But the feeling's good. I think everybody's enjoying the feeling. And what's really nice is I don't think that the post Club World Cup honeymoon has ended yet, which is I think the best feeling.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that all builds together to hopefully allow some confidence to build through this group further and further, because you can see it game by game. The confidence is growing, especially in each other more than anything else. I feel like they're starting to really trust each other and trust what's being built, and it's nice to see. Before I get into sort of some match predictions with you, you and I have both been very vocal on our approval of Alejandro Garnacho and the signing, and we're not quite as downbeat as a lot of Chelsea fans. I know people talk about attitude, etc., but look at Jadon Sancho at Man United. Man United's a poison chalice for any player, manager, or anyone in between.
Can I actually say on that? I think the biggest indicator of the way in which attitude, quote unquote, attitude is used for players. There's two ways it's used. And firstly, let's not beat around the bush. Attitude is often used by critics of the game to sort of take digs at typically black players, which is always something that's a little bit overblown or massively overblown, to be honest with you. And secondly, the Manchester United attitude issue that relates specifically to Garnacho. Look at Amorim. Look at what has happened to Amorim. I mean, you want to talk about someone's attitude? His attitude stinks. Because he's being broken by the system that he's in. It's not that he's a bad person. It's literally that Manchester United are a poisonous club. Whether they win, lose, or draw, they don't really get things right for their players. And I think when you look at, in my opinion, the two most senior players to have played for Manchester United over the last decade, aside from Casemiro and Varane, who I don't both think have been massively underwhelming for United, especially Varane, are Cristiano Ronaldo, who has not question marks around his attitude, but at United there were question marks around his work ethic, which I think in part is reliant on his attitude and his sort of egocentrism. And also Bruno Fernandes, club captain and wonderful football player, by the way, perfect Bayern Munich football player, but his attitude stinks. and everyone knows it's the reason why people don't like him. Nobody can discredit him as a football player. It's just his attitude, his way that he carries himself on the pitch. People have a problem with, and I think that when that's the leadership on the pitch, when managers are consistently struggling to get it right, their attitude completely changes at the club. They go from sort of, swimming in calm waters to essentially not waving but drowning, and it's a really difficult place to be. And I'm not in the business at the moment of judging Manchester United players fully on how things are, because Manchester United is such a shocking place to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where the sort of positivity from the likes of you and I around Alejandro Garnacho comes in, that you have to cut in some slack. Look at the environment he's been in since an academy player. As long as he's been in the first team, there has been terrible attitude, horrible negativity, and everything like that around the club. So there's going to be some criticism of maybe his attitude or the way he works sometimes. But what can't be doubted is actually his football ability. Nobody, when they've slated Garnacho or the Garnacho move as a whole, has actually spoken about his ability. It's all about off the field football. And we're only bothered about what we see on the pitch from him. Obviously, we want him
Yeah.
to be a good egg, and we want him to be good for the squad and good around the players. Nobody knows if that's true or false. So let's judge a player on their footballing ability, of which he's a good footballer. He's got a lot of room to improve. He's got a very high ceiling, in my opinion. I'm sure you agree as well.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
question is, do you chuck him straight in?
Yeah, 100%. That's why you buy players that are used to playing in the Premier League. I don't think it's as risky as it is to put someone else in there. Um, and I think when you play against a team like Brentford, some of the sort of underlying numbers that Garnacho excels in, I think would be really valuable. He's in basically a top 10% for players that win possession in the final third. He's in the top 15% for ball recoveries. He's in the top 15% for interceptions. He's in the top 15% for winning fouls. He's in the top 4% of touches in the opposition box. He's also a huge shot taker, although for Manchester United last season he took 84 shots and only scored 6 goals, which actually still puts him in the top 30%, but that could do with massively increasing when his shot output puts him in the top 7%. So I think there's a really interesting player there, really promising player, and a high volume shot player there. And I think when you look at the team, if it's going to be sort of Estevao and Garnacho on the wings, or Neto and Garnacho on the wings, the ball clearly progresses through the guys on the right, and Garnacho's there sort of in an auxiliary position to take those shots and to be a problem for the goalkeeper. So yeah, I don't see a reason to not put him in. And also, like, respectfully to Brentford, because they might beat Chelsea and it wouldn't be overly surprising. I mean, it'd be mildly surprising, but not overly surprising. Like, there are a few Premier League games, as we spoke about in a previous recording, that are sort of guaranteed wins anymore. But Brentford are at this stage in their development under their new manager, I think, are a sort of more appealing fixture for Garnacho to play in than Bayern Munich or Manchester United subsequently. So yeah, I think this is probably the opportunity for him to get a game, and I'd be really surprised if he doesn't start.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said, and I think the the positive part of him is, like you say, he's a very high volume shot taker. Something that I am critical of Chelsea sometimes. I don't feel like we take enough shots
Agreed.
from different areas. Sometimes we try and walk the ball in a little bit too much for my liking. I think he's very progressive with the way he carries the ball. Something that is a clear style that Maresca wants in a winger. If you look at all of our
Mm-hmm.
wingers now, they're all very high volume carriers of the ball. And I think he suits the way we want to play, and that's the whole reason and the point behind buying him. So, yeah, I think overall he is a very good player, and I think we will see the best of him. And hopefully, over the next 6 months to a year, we'll see him develop into the player I think he can become at least. Jay, before we wrap, I just want a quick score, goal scorer, if any, and man of the match prediction from you.
Okay. Score 3-1 to Chelsea. Who do I think is going to score? I think Joao Pedro is going to score. I think if Estevao starts, he's going to score. And I actually do think Garnacho will score if he starts as well. So that would be my thing. My man of the match. My man of the match is probably going to be Joao Pedro. probably, or Estevao. So yeah, I think it'd be one of those two, to be honest. And I can just see Jordan Henderson putting Brentford ahead in the first 5 minutes before Chelsea build into the game and be fuming because I think that transfer sucks. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I expect. I think, and actually, truthfully. If the game is a little bit more closed off than we're anticipating, because I do know, spoiler alert, that you also think it might be 3-1. If it is a techie sort of 0-0 till the last 10-15 minutes and Chelsea scrape a win, I wouldn't be overly shocked if someone like Achimpong actually took a man of the match award and had a really strong performance. I think this, if he gets that chance, would be a real opportunity to display his talents once again. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, so as Jay said, I was going to go for 3-1, but for the sake of being different, I'll go for 3-0 and I'll back us defensively. I think the goal scorers will be similar. I think Joao Pedro, I think Estevao, and I think, let's go rogue. Let's go, that's not really that rogue. Let's go Enzo Fernandez because he seems to be involved
Yeah,
quite a lot
nice.
at the minute. And I think man of the match, I'm going to go with, from my predictions, I'm going to go 3-0 and a Jarell Hetto man of the match.
I would love that.
Kept it
Incoming
clean.
Mark Guiu hat trick. Mark
Oh, I'd
Guiu
love
man
to
of the
see
match.
that. Actually, let's change that. Enzo Fernandez didn't score. Mark Guiu scored. All right, that's we'll wrap it there, Jay, because I feel like we could go on and on for hours. Thank you as always for coming on. Thank you everyone at home for listening and subscribing and just supporting what Danny and I are doing here at the Blues Feed. We will catch you again to review the Brentford game and then preview the Bayern Munich game as the fixture congestion ramps up over the next week or so. So thank you all for listening and watching, and we will catch you again very, very soon.